Very much, Hande, and thank you also from my side to Anama and UNDP for organizing the conference today and yesterday. As you certainly know, the provision of assistance to victims of mine incidents is one of the 5 pillars of mine action, and some may argue it's also the most complex one. Reflecting this importance, mine victim assistance is also enshrined in the Anti-Personnel Man-Buying Treaty, the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, and many other conventions, as we heard today. Meeting the short, medium, and long-term needs of those who have been injured by explosive ordnance and have suffered mental and/or mental trauma as a result requires a holistic, integrated, and long-term approach. Victims are affected in many different ways, according to their age, their degree and type of disability, their gender, and other factors that may influence their vulnerability. This needs to be taken into account when understanding the needs, when assessing them, as was also mentioned by Hafiz. Many of the services that are needed by mine victims are usually managed by the conventional state systems, starting with emergency medical care, over rehabilitation, psychological and social support, facilitation of access to education, vocational training, labor, and the presence of different ministries here today is a testimony to that. However, all those services have tight links with the mine action sector in a state, and the multitude of actors involved in mine victims' assistance, both state and non-state actors, and the broad scope and very individualized needs of mine victims bid for strong coordination of all actors involved. Mine victim assistance is a national state responsibility towards all people who have been injured and those who are living with a disability. Over many decades, the ICRC has been involved in mine action. The institution has gradually broadened its scope from merely supporting demining operations to engaging also in very essential prevention activities, such as raising awareness on the risk emanating from mines and promoting safer behavior in affected communities. And we do this very oftentimes in collaboration and coordination with the National Red Cross and Red Crescent societies. And we have also gradually been involved and engaged in mine victims' assistance, initially looking mainly at physical rehabilitation services. Today, the ICRC supports some 330 physical rehabilitation centers across 36 of our operations globally. And we have gathered a vast array of experience in that field over the years, providing direct support to victims, but also technical guidance, training, scholarships to staff, always working very closely with authorities and national partners to ensure sustainability of the programs. We have also been supporting authorities in the development of national strategies for physical rehabilitation. Now, various studies have shown that people with disabilities, among others from conflicts, face higher hurdles when recovering after conflict than the average population. And their challenges go well beyond physical rehabilitation. Thus, depending on the context and the needs, the ICRC has broadened its scope of activities to support mine victims and has engaged, for instance, in mental health activities and supporting mine victims, facilitation of vocational training, professional reorientation of mine victims, just to name a few. In Azerbaijan, concretely, we have observed that 90% of the civilian victims of mine incidents who were hurt after the escalation in 2020 are adult males. Oftentimes, they are the breadwinners in a family. We have assessed the situation of the majority of them, which allows us to confirm the individuality of the response needed in every case. Some need financial support to cover their medical expenditures. Some don't know where to register to get pensions they're entitled to. Some don't have the petty cash to pay for the taxi to go and register to the next office. And most of them have families that they need to care for and thus need to reorient professionally to ensure an income. In its initial response phase after the 2020 escalation of the conflict, the ICRC allocated a fixed financial support to the survivors of mine incidents. We also made contributions to the funerary costs to the families of those tragically deceased. We have also provided some individual financial support to those unable to cover specific medical expenditures. Overall, about 80% of all surviving victims received some kind of support from the ICRC. Next to carrying out activities in support to reinforcing the capacities of ANAMA and to raise awareness on the risk emanating from mines, the ICRC is ready to continue to engage in supporting the relevant authorities and agencies in mine victim assistance in Azerbaijan to share its experience and best practices and to support in specific areas as needed. Azerbaijani institutions carry out very valuable work in order to support victims of mine incidents. And I would like to encourage donors present here today to consider the long-term nature of needs of mine victims and ensure a sustained commitment in supporting them. In order also to increase impact and efficiency and to ensure the pertinent allocation of resources from donors and other players, I would also like to encourage all entities involved in mine victim assistance to strengthen their coordination in order to ensure that the money is well spent, but above all, that mine victims are cared for as they deserve. I thank you for your attention.